Hi everyone. I was working on my plugin, so the Lake plugin, and I was trying to make this kind of crude effect that you can find sometime in some water surface like lake, puddle as well. I was trying to replicate that, and so I deeply searched on all internet and I couldn't find anything basically to reproduce this. So I spent a lot of time trying to represent this effect so in real time in Unreal Engine. And so I actually found a solution, and I think this result is pretty good. So yeah, I just wanted to share that on my YouTube channel. Before we jump into this video, I recently launched a website where I upload a ton of 3D assets such as PBR material, 3D model, HDRI, Atlas, Decal, LightUS, landscape height-map, you name it. Everything is completely free to download, so if you want to support the channel, feel free to click the link in the description. Okay, so first, there is basically all of the texture that I've made to replicate this effect. Of course, you will see that we can manage the end result quite a lot with few parameters, and so those variation of texture. So all of the texture will be available to download for free, of course, in this YouTube video description. But basically what I've did is that, so using the gradient linear, I changed the width and height of it to have a 512 by 8 texture. And then I just put the gradient linear into the gradient map. And then I start basically trying to replicate the color that we see on this crude oil water effect. So I've did a lot. I did actually 3 variation, and of course this may impact a lot so the color that is covered by this effect. So just a quick tip, if you want to make one yourself, you can do this pretty easily in Substance Designer. And same goes for the pattern. So as you can see here, the pattern that we have to basically deploy the color. Those are normal map that I just use. You will see later in the video, but we use that to basically drive the UV coordinate of the gradient map. And so if you actually want to do this, it's pretty simple. It's mostly just texture that I multi-directional warp using any kind of geometry. I test quite a lot of possibility, but I end up with, I think, 3 nice results. But you probably will have each one of those texture in the description. So basically, here I'm in a material layer. So this is material layer basically because I actually want to use this effect using vertex color, and that's why I'm using material layer. So let me show you. So let me go in my blueprint lake. Now I can go in mesh paint, and I believe it is the green channel, but now I can actually paint this effect. I need to press X to invert the mode, but yeah, as you can see, I can actually paint this effect right now on my landscape just using the vertex tool, which is quite nice to have actually to just create the shape that you want to have on your lake. And so basically, of course, it's not needed for this tutorial, but I'm just explaining it so you guys can follow along. But I actually have my standard water material, which is basically this one with, of course, a lot of parameter to change the water. And I actually have this layer, which is the polluted water. And so let's go in here. We're actually driving those materials, so this material, the crude oil material, using the green channel of the vertex color. And one thing that we're doing, we'll see that more at the end of the video. But basically, let me show that. Let me maybe increase the intensity. But basically here I'm using a texture. And with this texture, I'm actually controlling the outside of the vertex. So basically the blend between my default layer, which is the water layer, and the green channel of the vertex color, which is the crude oil material. And so as you can see, I can change the scale of it like this. I can change the contrast of it. And so using this, I have a lot of control on how this will look from far. So using this vertex color and so using this texture. But I actually made a video about it, link will be in the description, about how to make this. It's pretty simple, but that's not the purpose of this video. Okay, so now let's jump into the material. So first thing that we do is that I'm using world position and using the X and Y value. This is gonna go in the UV of the flow map. And so I'm dividing this by the scale. The reason for that is that I rather use this than using the coordinates with the multiply, because in this case, so if I put this into the base color, so I increase the intensity, and so now we're watching basically the flow map. And the reason for that is that now so if I scale my lake, if I were to go in the selection mode, so now if I scale my lake, I will actually keep the same scale on my texture. So that's why I'm using world position and a divider with a scale. And then after that, we basically use a pattern node with some value to it. Here we actually need to put a time node multiply by a parameter which is the oil flow speed, so we can have a control over how this texture is basically moving on the texture or on the lake. For example, if I want to increase its value, as you can see, this texture is now moving, but I want to keep very low value, because basically what we're doing there is that using the flow map, we'll actually use the result of this flow map to actually drive the UV of the oil pattern. And this will result, as you can see, if I in here, so for example, if I increase the speed, as you can see the flow map that is making distortion on our map, and that's basically what we want. And yeah, so basically after that, we're using a component mask using the R and G channel, and we want to multiply that with this parameter, and this will basically control how powerful this effect is. But I like to keep a very low value, otherwise it's getting very quickly chaotic, so I will keep a 0.1 value for this. And so after that, we'll make a world position using the X and Y again, like we did here, divided by the all pattern scale. So this will control basically the scale of this texture. And we're gonna add our so logic that we have here, and we're gonna add this together. And then we're going to plug the result into the UV. And so, so for example, if I take the R channel, I plug that into the base color. So as you can see now, we have the pattern of our crude oil, and we also have, using the flow map, the distortion, which gonna create this nice effect. So I even think that the maybe the speed, actually, yeah, the speed is quite too quick for now. I want to have a very slow motion. I want to have a quite intense motion, like we have now, but I want it to move very slowly, like this. Yeah, I do believe this is nice like this. And so once we have that, we're gonna plug actually the R channel into a multiply node, and we're gonna take the fractional node, and we're gonna add a parameter so-called the old pattern fractional pro, and we're gonna plug that into this input. And so with this parameter, we can basically control so the fractional effect. And so basically, if I increase this value, so if I'm above the texture, I will see clearly the texture. But if I'm like in front, so perpendicular to the surface, I will basically start fading the effects. And I found around 1 to be a good value. We don't want to have this too powerful. And yeah, so after that, we're gonna add a multiply node, and we're gonna create another parameter which is called the all oil color range. And so this parameter will actually be used to control how much color that we want to use. So with the gradient, but basically using the gradients, how much range in terms of color do we want to use in our oil effect. And so basically, if I want to, so I'm gonna plug that into the UV like that, and plug the result in here. And so basically, if I increase this value, as you can see, I can actually control the range, and so how much color I want to have, and even I would say pattern or wave of color that we want to have for this effect. And after that, we are gonna add node, and we're gonna add all color shift, and this is basically just an offset. So in case, so let me plug that into UV. And so basically, let's say you have a lower range like this, but you actually not happy with what color or where, you can actually use this parameter to change these. And so after that, we can actually use a frac node. So of course, it's not very needed, but you will see what this will do. But basically, if I use a frac node, this will make sure that on the edge, those are more edgy, I would say. But I'm not sure about using a frac node, but I just wanted to showcase that in case you like the effect. Of course, keep in mind that this effect will be drastically reduced by the intensity over there. So you will end up with a very different result at the end. But let me turn the intensity back to 1 so we can work on it. And I think for now I won't use the frac node. So I'm actually gonna plug that into a power node. I'm gonna keep that here. And so we are bringing a power node and we are just adding a new parameter which is called oil contrast. And now I can plug that into the UV. And so using this parameter, I can actually reduce the contrast and so how the color are spread. And I found this parameter very useful. So basically what I like to use is that I like to use the oil color range, so I can choose what color are used and the contrast. So using this, I have a lot of control on this effect. And after that, we basically put everything into the UV. And after we take the RGB result, we are adding a desaturation node, and then we add the a parameter node. We 1- it to invert it. So we actually have a saturation node. We plug that into the fraction input. And then after that, we can actually plug that into the base color. And so using the saturation, I can actually have lower saturation on my color, or I can even have more of those. But I like to keep this at 1. And so basically, so for me, in this case, since I'm using vertex painting, I'm actually plugging that into the base color. In specular, I have roughly around 1, basically. That's what you want to have. And in roughness, I have 0. I found sometime metallic to be nice on it, but since I'm using vertex color and I'm lowering the intensity quite a lot, it's not affecting. I don't have quite a lot of value using this metallic, but I just wanted to show that because I think the end result is quite nice with the metallic, but at the end, since we're basically reducing the intensity quite a lot, we actually lose this metallic effect on the, so using the metallic parameter. So it's really up to you. It could be useful in some case, but in this case, it's not really working. And basically, we have the specular, the roughness. And so I plug that in basically my B socket on the blend material. And then in the alpha, so if you want to do this very simply, you can just put the green channel like this, but you will have quite different result, of course. But since we are lowering the intensity quite a lot, and so with this material attributes, we can actually plug that into the B socket like this. And for the alpha, so since I'm using vertex color, but we're using this material function, which is of course, like I said, in another video that I have on my YouTube channel, so link in the description, of course, if you want to follow it. But if you want to go basic with that, you can just take the green channel, then you can multiply the result, and you can take a parameter, so oil intensity, and you can multiply this and plug the result into the alpha. And so doing this, so of course the result going to be of course less nicer than using the noise contrast. But since we're lowering the intensity quite a lot, I think this will still do the job, of course. And so one thing that I like to do is I like to use alert node. Since we're working with very low value to get the nice intensity to have a real effect, I like to use alert node. And so basically what I've done is that I have 0 in the A socket and I have a very low value, so basically 0.006, and then I plug the result into the alpha. And in this parameter, I can now actually set the slider max to 1. And so if I plug the result now into the multiply node like this, I can hit apply. And so now basically using the range of 0 to 1, I have much more precise control over the intensity, since we're basically between those two numbers. And I like having a 0.15 value. And yeah, so of course, you can still change quite a lot of parameter. For example, the scale. We haven't talked too much about this, but I think the scale can change a lot, of course. So I think I will upload one texture for each, but of course, if you are able to create your own texture using Substance Designer, using different gradient color and different so oil pattern, you can end up with quite a lot of different results which work nice for all. So let me know down in a comment what you think of this effect. I found this effect to be very nice. I can't remember where in a video game or just in a tutorial video where I saw an effect on crude oil. So yeah, I do believe that this is a nice way of doing this. Of course, this could be improved, but yeah, I hope this tutorial helped you, and if you have any question, just ask it down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you like the video, and leave a like. Goodbye.